Hey guys, it's Lane here with HobbiesofaMan once again, and today we're going to be doing our review discussion for the first episode of Season 2 of The Wheel of Time. This is the return of What Talk. I think that's what I called it back when Season 1 happened. I don't know. It doesn't matter. The point is that we are talking once again about the show. Now, I was thinking about doing a special episode where I talk about, kind of a retrospective view of Season 1, but I didn't get around to making the video. I didn't have time to make the video separately before the show came out. And also, I kind of already basically did that in my wrap-up video for August. So if you guys are interested, feel free to watch the film section of that video if you're interested in learning about my opinions on Season 1 retrospectively after, a few years. And having recently watched it again in preparation for the show. So I can kind of recap that now. So I will do that now. So basically, I think that Season 1 is good the first couple times you watch it. As in, it's fine. It's not a horrible show. But as someone that has gotten further into my Wheel of Time journey, reading 5 books and actually being a third of the way through Lord of Chaos, and then watching the show again, last week, I feel like it's worse and worse every time. Partially it's because I came in knowing that I wouldn't like it, so I was much more picky about some of the things. But then I realized that some of the blocking and some of the action scenes that I praised and I thought were great, and that most people praised and thought were great, are actually not that good. It's kind of like the same thing that happens when you watch those Star Wars YouTubers that are super angry about the sequels, and they go in slow motion and watch all of the fight scenes, and you realize, hey, these fight scenes suck ass. I felt kind of the same. I'm not inherently angry at the world. I don't hate everything, and I don't really care that much, but I do care enough that it does bother me when I realize that things are worse than I thought. Things are worse than I thought with Season 1. Now, the thing is that I also have a relatively positive view of Wheel of Time Season 1, because after I watched it twice by myself, I watched it once with my family members, and my dad and my mom and my sister were all pretty interested in it. My sister, not so much. She was, busy. She had something going on back then, so she wasn't really paying attention completely. But my mom and dad were pretty interested. My dad specifically was invested in the fact that Aes Sedai are like Bene Gesserit from Dune, and he was, into the show. Actually, a few months ago, they asked me, hey, when's that another season of that show coming out? We liked it. So, yes, it's not that great, but also to your average viewer, it's not that bad either. It's actually pretty good. In fact, I don't think my parents complained at all about some of the scenes that, as a fan, I'm appalled by. So having that perspective was really good for me. But also, as a fan, I'm just like, dude, this freaking sucks, dude. This is horrible. Why did I even watch this? And I still am very upset that they wasted a chapter and a half of an episode and a half on Karine and Stepan and their relationship that doesn't matter at all, because it doesn't do anything to anyone. It doesn't help anything. It doesn't highlight anything important. It doesn't do anything, because Stepan's reaction is possibly the same reaction that a husband might have when his wife dies. It's not anything special. It's not like he went crazy in some sort of magical way. And I think that is a failure, because, we're told all the time that the water bond is really, really important. However, even in the books up to book 5, I don't feel like I've seen that shown. I remember Swan seeing her warder die. She got angry for a moment, and then it didn't matter, and she never thinks about him again. I remember there's this, I think it's Masima, one of the female Forsaken, that kills a warder, and the Aes Sedai starts crying because she felt it, but that's not, that is an average reaction to having your friend die. Then there was someone else. There was another warder Aes Sedai situation, but I don't remember what it was. But basically, None of these are particularly impactful. None of these are supernatural bonding. None of these are that special. And the show also fails to show that they're special. And it has the added bullshit of like losing an hour and a half worth of content or space for valuable content by focusing on this story, right? So that is my biggest complaint about that. Also, the CGI thing at the end, I mean, it sucks, but also like it is what it is. And the problem with Rand's moment being the Dragon Reborn, understanding it, saving the world for the first time, and then realizing that, hey, maybe he might break it even if he saves it a few times along the way, was downplayed by turning him into this like simp type of character that simps so hard that he wasn't willing to take what he wanted, even though he knew that it wasn't real. And also then the moment where he finally does the badass thing in the book gets given to the female characters that then somehow die, but also come back to life at some point before the second season. So I don't know. Overall, I hate it. But I watched episode 1 of season 2, and it's much better than any of the previous episodes. I quite liked it. However, it does not really feel like The Great Hunt. I'm not really sure what it feels like. It feels maybe like somewhere in the middle of The Great Hunt, and also kind of early into the Dragon Reborn. So they kind of sped up the Hunt of Valir stuff and also changed it a bit. But this episode has 3 plot lines. It has Perrin and Loyal's plot line with the Shinarans. It has Egwene and Nynaeve. So Egwene, how'd you do it? How'd you bring Nynaeve back? And Nynaeve, how are you not, dead with your eyes removed? So that is a big problem with the last part of last season. And then we have Moraine's story, which is pretty interesting, but also weird because it's basically Swan's story from books 4 and 5, but for the incorrect reason. And then there's like the Forsaken bit where we kind of see something at the beginning of the show. And if you recently watched the last episode of the series of season 1, you would actually have seen this scene already, right? So yeah, the first scene is the Forsaken talking, and then Ishamael talking to this little girl, and them kind of petting a Trolloc, which was weird, but also kind of interesting. Then I think the next part is Moraine. And so Moraine is confusing because she doesn't have access to the One Power, but she is not stilled. It is much more similar to what Mogadine did to Liandrin in book 4, I think, where she weaves a shield so complex that Liandrin can no longer touch the One Power, or she can feel it, but she can't use it. And so, as far as I understand it, the psychological trauma that is being faced here is the lack of usage, not necessarily the fact that you no longer feel it. Like something has not been removed from you, but rather you just can't use it as before. And I understand that if you're used to this and it is kind of addictive, that would be a problem, but I don't know that it's that big of a problem. So Moraine's kind of very tough situation feels a little bit weird to me because it shouldn't be that rough. And also the fact that she mistreats Lan so badly, even though Lan is literally like mother henning for her and trying his best to make sure that she feels better, kind of sucks. I don't like that because she's supposed to be this like wise, woman, this wise mentor character, and yet she acts like a child. However, that is par for the course for Wheel of Time. So I guess in a roundabout way, it is correct to the Wheel of Time in the sense that, characters act worse than they think they should, or worse than they really should based on characterization, because that is the reality of humanity. There's the kind of key aspect of humanity is our innate hypocrisy and stuff like that. So understandable, but also I just don't love it. However, I do like Varian and the old warder guy, and also Varian's sister friend that hangs out with them. I liked their relationship. I liked their relationship with Lan, and I really liked the fight scene with Lan and Moraine and Varen near their home. I thought that was really, really cool. I love that a lot. We finally got to see Bail Dalman, and I liked him. I thought he was interesting. But a lot of the things that we see him do in a boat are now in an office, which kind of sucks. I really would have liked to see him on a boat, but it is what it is. Then we have Egwene and Nynaeve's story in the tower. I actually quite enjoyed this one. I thought this was really, really good. There was a kind of funny bit here with Alana, because Alana is a lot more promiscuous than Egwene is used to. And there's this misunderstanding that also is not a misunderstanding at all. And I think that was part of the situation that Alana was trying to get at, which was that Egwene is very good, but she has to relax. She has to allow herself to not have expectations in order to be able to succeed much more readily. Whereas Nynaeve has the kind of inverse version of the same problem, where Nynaeve is so uptight and is so afraid of her power that she is not able to do it well, but also is so hard-headed that she's not willing to listen to people give her advice, right? So, yeah, but Egwene is really good. She tries not to use hand motions in order to minimize the need for that, and I think that comes straight from Valda, which is good. I really like that because it sets up the idea that Egwene hates being controlled. So I love that. I think that's really, really good. They did a really great job with the characterization for her. Nynaeve's characterization was really, really interesting because it basically brings forward a lot of the situations that make Nynaeve undergo her transformation in books 4, 5, and 6 much earlier. And I like that. I think that's really, really good. I think that was a great call there because it is much more satisfying to have that kind of progression across the seasons instead of like midway through the show, like in season 3 or 4 into the final season, whatever that might be. So I like that. I think that's good. And it also maybe makes it so that we can have Nynaeve be a badass without having to be angry a lot sooner. So I think that's exciting. I think that would be pretty cool. And then we have Perrin. And Perrin finally gets to meet Elias. And actually, this kind of sucks because they remove Hurin, I think is his name, the sniffer, the guy that could smell violence, and they combine him with Elias. And I think ultimately this is cool because Perrin basically does have the same abilities as Hurin and also is a wolf brother. And the reason why he has those same abilities as Hurin is because of being a wolf brother, right? So it's not exactly the same, but it's close enough that combining them makes complete sense. I like that. Honestly, maybe you can even argue that there's a new canon here, which is that Hurin was a wolf brother that did not have access to all of the abilities, and so that could work. I can make that work in my head. I like that. Elias didn't really get to do much. However, we see him really caring for a dog, and so I think this kind of implies a connection that he has without necessarily outright stating it, although he has bright golden eyes, and him and Perrin have this like situation where they're looking at each other a lot, and Perrin is not sure how to feel, and we get to see that in what's his name, Marcus's face. I think that's the name of the actor. And also, I like to see Perrin be really friendly with Loial, because if Loial becomes kind of Perrin's kind of partner, this is going to be pretty good for later on when we have the Battle of the Two Rivers. So I like that. I think that's going to be pretty enjoyable, and it's going to make a lot more sense. However, I feel like in my mind, when I read the books, Rand is the closest to Loial out of the 3 Emmenfield boys, and it kind of sucks that we won't get to see him be that close to Loial, because when we do see him in this episode, he's kind of somewhere far away, unknown, in a location that is unclear. So that kind of sucks. And then, it's fine, I guess, but it's not the best. But then at the end of the episode, we finally get to see Matt, who is now a new a new actor. And he manages to make a similar enough voice to the original that it's not that off-putting. And also, even though he doesn't look that similar, he still has the same vibe. And I like that they start from a moment of weakness, so that when he comes back without the dagger's influence, he can be his own character separately from the original Matt, since the original Matt, thankfully in the first season, was ultimately just dour, sad, angry Matt, thanks to the dagger. And so now that he can go back to being something different, we can get him to portray him the way he wants to. So I think that's good. Somehow it ended up working pretty well. So that's good. And Leandrin is basically psychologically torturing him, and he manages to start kind of removing the grout from a giant brick, and hopefully that will allow him to get some help eventually. So yeah, that was the end of the episode. Overall, I think in terms of adapting stuff, it's not that great. However, in terms of creating a cohesive show from the shit show that was the last season, I think it did pretty great. Like, as an episode of TV, regardless of where it comes from, I would say this is like an 8 or 9 out of 10. It was enjoyable. I was invested. I liked the characters. And I think that the way that they were portrayed was good. However, as an adaptation, again, I feel like it doesn't succeed because I don't know what this is supposed to be adapting. Like, what parts of The Great Hunt or Eye of the World, near the end of Eye of the World, or, early in Dragon Reborn is this supposed to be adapted? Because it doesn't really sound or seem like it's anything specific. It's just kind of like, here's a location, here's some characters, let's just jump them together and kind of Frankenstein a scene out of it. And I guess that works, but I don't love it because it always comes back to the fact that if you would have just followed the books, simplified them, instead of started changing shit, you could have had a great adaptation. You could have done The Eye of the World in like 4 episodes, 5 episodes. You could have done half of The Great Hunt, and you could have stopped when Selene reveals herself to be a psycho and led into a drama-filled season 2 from there, and it would have worked really well, and it wouldn't have had to be, years of stewing in discomfort and dislike for a shitty adaptation of such a great series, right? So, yeah, those are my thoughts. Hopefully, I'll be much more positive going forward, and it'll hopefully be great. So, yeah, thank you guys very much for watching. Let me know what you guys thought down below, and thank you guys very much for watching. See you guys later.